near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. One of my most wanted manga in deluxe edition is finally here. Vagabond Definitive Edition Volume 1 hardcover from Takehiko Inoue is out. And here is my overview of this wonderful masterpiece. Alright, let's take a closer look at this book right here that's been one of my most wanted manga in deluxe edition. You have Vagabond there, Takehiko Inoue, and then the volume number, and then this picture right here of our lead character in black and white. Vagabond, the Definitive Edition Volume 1, based on Eiji Shokikawa's Musashi. That's right, this is based on a novel series. Striving for enlightenment by way of the sword. Your ISBN, Viz signature, the mature logo, and explicit content, and the Viz logo and the ISBN. This is an obi, which we'll look at here in a second, but the very first thing I want to do is, of course, compare it to the other publishers' deluxe hardcovers. Of course, I always have to compare it to Berserk because this is the one that gave all the other publishers the idea that, perhaps these manga buyers want a better package. And they put it in a neat package, all of these publishers, and gave us some deluxe editions of their most popular work, with more to come. Well, at least from Dark Horse that I know of for sure, but can't say a word yet. But here are the spines of the books right here. Berserk, and again, this is an obi, so it does stand out, whereas all of these mainly seem like they're using a faux leather feel to it and a faux leather look to it, including Ubelblatt. Oh, the Ubelblatt does have that nice piece right there. Vagabond does something a little bit different. Let's just look at the backs here. And there we go. Those are all stickers, by the way. I still have this one here, but I just wanted to show you the back. And rest assured, this is a round spine. We'll look at the binding here in a little bit. Whereas, you know, it's kind of case by case. Even Dark Horse sometimes has flat spines, like the case in Blade of the Immortal. But for example, Vinland Saga also has a flat spine. Now, let's look at Vagabond right here. And this has been previously collected before. It was part of the Viz Big edition. So these are 3-in-1s, and that's exactly what you're getting here. But the thing you immediately notice, of course, is the size difference. I myself I thought, okay, Viz Big is pretty cool. Like, maybe they can just put a hardcover around it. But no, they went ahead and maximized the artwork, which we'll do a little comparison here in a bit. But this is the main thing I wanted to show you right here, just how big it is compared to the release. And of course, this has also been available as part of the Viz Signature series, which were taller tankobons. But I just decided to get the 3-in-1s. Now, something to note is the thickness of the book. And yes, they are using a different paper stock, but I do see a lot of misinformation out there that this has over 126 pages more than the Viz Big, and that's just not the case. I mean, there's a few more pages, but definitely not that many more pages than the Viz Big. I did want to go ahead and point that out. Now, I mentioned that this is an obi, so what does that mean? This is very popular in Japan. And for vinyls as well. It's kind of like your half dust jacket. We don't really get a lot of these here in America, but it is a very, very popular trend, or I guess it's something they've been doing in Japan for a while with the releases of manga or art books. And here in America, I think the closest we got was, as far as if you collect Marvel or DC Omnis, is the original Daredevil designs of the Omnibus by Frank Miller. They were designed by Chip Kidd. Now, the other difference here is that they're not going for a faux leather feel, not for the whole book. We have this cloth. If you have, like, the Hellboy, the library editions, that's what this feels like the cloth there. Then, of course, you have the gold foil up here, Takehiko Inoue, and one right there. But yeah, this is more like I guess this is like a tapestry. Pretty cool. I like that it stands out. And then, of course, the obi covers it up. And what is that? Velvet? Yeah, it's like some kind of cloth. All right, we are going to open up this big definitive edition, and I'm going to give you the pitch of the story and look at this wonderful artwork, and then, of course, do a comparison to that Viz Big. Okay, let's go ahead and get this book open. You have your end sheets right here. And then you have some beautiful color pages that are printed in this thick, glossy paper stock. And these are the covers to the original 3 volumes. And then you have the title page right here, Vagabond, Takehiko Inoue, and Volume 1. And this is when I think it gets interesting, because I'm so used to the right to left format already, so my brain's already thinking that as I'm looking at volumes 1, 2, and 3. And then we have the chapter breaks right here and how it's broken down in this table of contents. So it's volume 1, 2, and 3, so my brain has to think, oh, we're doing it this way now. It's not that big of a deal. I was just making a comment. And then you're given these beautiful color pages, as you did in the Viz Big edition, and it's talking about this battle of Sekigahara, and the end of this huge battle, which again probably took place somewhere around in the 1600s. I was a huge fan, and I'm not gonna lie, I got big into the whole Musashi and actually read a few of the novels and historical books because of the Brave Fencer Musashi video game. I don't know if anybody remembers that on the PlayStation. I loved it, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then, of course, I found out he was a historical character, and appearances of different characters throughout just Japanese lore and history, and I just found it to be beautiful. So when this was coming out, I found out that it was going to be done by the same gentleman that did the Slam Dunk series. And I was like, oh, I like that guy's art, but I don't know if it's going to work for something like this. And this is one of the most beautifully drawn, I don't even know if drawing could do it justice, but one of the most beautifully drawn pieces of literature out there. It is absolutely astonishing what he was able to do. So it starts off right around, like I said, in 1600 or around 1600, where you have these 2 teenagers that are waking up, who joined the losing side of this big battle of Sekigahara. And one of them is this young man right here. This is Takezo. And then he's talking to his friend Matahachi. Both of them come from the same village, and it is the Miyamoto village. And both of them survived this big ordeal. And they're talking about how they have somehow managed to escape. And this is when the character of Takezo, who's kind of an outsider, even when he was in that village, just says that, you know, what he wants to do is become invincible under the heavens. So he wants to be the best sword fighter out there. And eventually you'll see him become what will be known the title of the book, a Vagabond. Now, mature content, and that's a lot to do with the violence and the sexual content in here, and sometimes some of the language, but it's mainly due to this hyper violence, which is freaking awesome if you love these kind of things. So what ends up happening is both of them run into these 2 ladies right here after doing some battles. They actually get saved by these 2 young ladies and taken back to their house, and this is when they end up going kind of their separate ways because of jealousy or because of fear. When Takezo is approached by some soldiers that are still looking for him, what ends up happening is they get separated. So you have the character of Takezo that decides to fight and go back to the village, and I'll explain why he decides to go back to the Miyamoto village. And you have the character of Matahachi, who decides to stay with these 2 young ladies. He sees that his friend that he went to battle with, that he left Miyamoto village with, Takezo, is being attacked by a bunch of these soldiers right here. So what he does is he daydreams, and there's a lot of daydreaming in this book, especially from the character of Matahachi in these first few volumes, about going and helping his friend. But what he ends up doing is instead leaves his friend to go and have some sexy time with one of these ladies that he leaves his friend for. So as you find out, there is a little bit of not much of a time jump, just some time has passed, that eventually Takezo does make it back to Miyamoto village, and he tells the family that Matahachi has decided to leave and move somewhere else, that he does not want to come back to the village. They don't believe him. They think that he did something to Matahachi, and they want to hold him responsible. Now, Matahachi's fiance is here, or the young lady that he was supposed to be married to. Now, this is Otsu, who gets the letter from Matahachi saying that he decided to leave and move on with these 2 ladies, and the character of Takezo becomes a vagabond. And again, they want blood, right? They hold him responsible. So then he ends up getting caught by this monk right here. This is Takuan, who will end up catching him and trying to teach him a lesson about how to be a warrior. There are some characters that will be showing up here that will cause him some problems towards the very beginning because of everything that was happening in the very first chapter. But the basic premise of this is that eventually Takezo gets caught by, like I mentioned, this monk. And this monk wants him to reconsider his purpose in life. He's not about murdering him. He's not about turning him into the eyes of the law for them to decide. So him and Otsu go out there while everybody else is failing to capture him. And they end up taking him back to the village where they're hanging him and where people are expecting him to die. And again, he just approaches him and tells him that, reconsider your purpose in life. This is what you need to do, or do you want to live? And it is decided that he wants to become a vagabond, and he ends up leaving the village eventually. Now, this is when the story does a little bit of a time jump, and we go to Kyoto. This is a few years after. And now he is calling himself Miyamoto Musashi. He is leaving behind the name Takeso Shinmen and leaving his Miyamoto town. But at least, he is carrying the name of Miyamoto Musashi. And now he is 21 years old. At the beginning, both him and the character of Matahachi are around 17. I think Matahachi's a little younger, maybe 16. But now he is 21. And the whole reason he's walking to Kyoto is to challenge the best fighter there. He wants to challenge the best fighter and to take them down. Because it goes back to that promise that him and Matahachi made about being invincible under the heavens. And that's what this book will be about. And then, of course, he gets caught up in battles, some of them historical, some taking a few liberties. But oh my gosh, I love this book. And a lot of the reason, I'm not going to showcase what happens and who he runs into, or if he ever comes across his friend again, Matahachi, or his friend's fiance, or even the character of Takuan, like what ends up happening, or does he successfully defeat these dojo leaders and co-leaders to earn respect and to finally become that invincible under the heavens title that he wants so bad. But I will let you find out all of that. What I wanted to point out now, which I'm sure you saw already, is the amazing detailed artwork that Inoue just puts in every page. Not just through action sequences, but just when people are just talking. I mean, he looks so badass just standing there with a wooden sword trying to take on this guy that's twice, three times sometimes his size. And it reminds me a lot of some of my favorite manga artists like Katsuhiro Otomo or really Ryoichi Ikegami. Now, that's some stuff I would love to see in oversized hardcover format. I'll do a comparison here in a little bit. So all the color pages are in here. They're intact. And the same ones were found in the Viz Big edition. But my gosh, it is the black and white and the attention to detail. And this is the same guy that did Slam Dunk. Now I kind of want to go back and read that when I can find that box of missing manga that I have somewhere. And hopefully, maybe they'll release it in an oversized hardcover format. Maybe this will be the most popular way to release it. Now, I do have, unfortunately, some bad news. When it comes to manga, there's always a chance. Right now, there were a total of 37 volumes translated into English. And there is a total of 12 volumes in the Viz Big edition. So in these editions right here, there's a total of 12 of them. So 36. There hasn't been a new chapter in, oh my gosh, I want to say almost 10 years. It's on indefinite hiatus. Now, if you're a manga fan, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. If you're an older manga fan, you know who I'm talking about. Heavy Metal Bastard, Annie of Clamps. Oh gosh, when will they get back to X? We've been through this road before. We know the patience. Or people that just enjoy Hunter x Hunter. Sometimes, it's a decision made by the mangaka. They want to focus on something else or maybe another career path. Or sometimes it's a health thing, right? Like they want to take a break. But these things do happen. These aren't monthly, well-oiled machines like the big two here in America, like DC and Marvel. That is a big difference between manga and American comics. Like, they don't produce these every month. They don't have to. Like, unless you're somebody like Oda who has a bunch of helpers. And Inoue actually does, especially, I think in the second volume, you'll start seeing some people, some assistants that will be credited. But unfortunately, as of right now, it's on hiatus with volume 37, and that's never been collected in the Viz Big edition. So I'm not sure if there's going to be 12 volumes of these, or if they're going to put volume 37 and start moving chapters around to just make a complete 12 volumes or 13 volumes. I'm not sure how they're going to do that. But I did want to make people aware, just in case you're like, oh my gosh, I want to read this big epic from this era of Japan. And no, it's not done. Not yet. But hopefully one day, right? There's always a chance. I've been waiting I've been waiting well over 10 years for some of these things to come out, even some anime. All right, so that's what this is. All the way in the back, you have the glossary and background information here, which I think is very important because you're dealing with real history, real people that existed, and then, of course, some fictional stuff thrown in there. But there are terms in here that you need to know, or what particular eras these were, and when these people actually existed. I think it's so cool that that's added in there. I don't think that's in the Viz Big edition, but we'll do a comparison. Now, this stuff I do remember, the concept sketches. Vagabond in New York, this is the showing of his artwork right there. And then, of course, the author comments. These, I think, were found in the dust jacket. Following comments came from the dust jacket flaps of the Japanese graphic novel releases. And then your end sheets. Now, let's talk about the build and do a comparison. 728 pages and retailing for $55. It is printed in this matte paper stock, but it's not, it feels more like the Berserk paper stock. Oh my gosh, just look at that. It comes with this scarlet red ribbon right here. And yeah, there's really no bleed through happening because the paper stock is just thick like this. Now, what I want to do is compare it to the Viz Big. And one of the things I will go ahead and say that's not collected in here is the cover right here. This isn't collected, although I think it's just a zoom in of his face. Invincible Under the Sun. These are the French flaps right here. But what I want to do is go ahead and open it up. Now, this is glued binding, of course, right? This is printed also in a little different type of paper stock. So I want to go ahead and go here. There are no chapters, no table of contents in this version, but it is printed in this. It's almost like a, this feels a little slicker than this over here. But this gives you an idea of how it will look when there's spread pages like this. Because of the sewn binding, you get more of the artwork. And to kind of highlight what I mean, just to look at that top picture, and we'll look at another one. Of course, this is the very beginning, where the binding is always going to be a little closer. You're going to get a little gutter loss. But you get more of the picture than you do here, because this is lost, unfortunately, with the glued binding. So let's, here's another one. Perfect example. So again, you get more of the picture over here, whereas over here you lose some of that shoulder piece right there, or some of the horse down here. And what the other difference is that this is a little bit lighter, whereas over here the colors are a little darker. But it looks like it is the same translation, so it's the same scans. They just kind of blew it up. Nothing's been really touched up. The sound effects are still translated within the panels. They're not translated out of the panels or in the back. Now, this is what I want to compare, is the black and white, because that's what you get a majority of. Of course, it's bigger, right? You see more of the frame, the outer frame, whereas here it's kind of lost. But that kind of gives you an idea as to what's in here. Now, as far as the extras, like I said, I think the translation glossary is about the only thing they added extra. The glossary and background information. I don't think I remember that here. But like I said, this really has about the same page count as that. There's a few more pages over here, but damn, I was wrong. And they did this in the old school way. They did this right to left format, whereas over here, your brain has to switch to left to right. I was wrong. I stand corrected. That was there too. The sketches, I do remember those. Vagabond in New York. Again, over here for some reason they flipped it. And then the author contents, or comments, which is the same over here. But yeah, not too many pages added. And Missing this cover, which is just the red cover, which I wish they would have added at the very beginning of these, because they're a little different than the covers of the individual tankobons. But that is it. That is Vagabond, the Definitive Edition Volume 1. And that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this book, don't forget to check out our sponsor.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcon at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this definitive edition. Let me know in the comments down below if you are picking this up, if you already have the Viz, the big Viz editions, if you're hoping one day that Inoue comes back and finishes out this wonderful series, and if you want to see something like Slam Dunk also collected in this format. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. Everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.